Chapter 20. A certain Putujan monk and the four Arahants. While the Buddha was residing at the Jetavana monastery, a certain monk, being anxious to know how one can realize and attain Nibbana, approached an Arahant and asked, Kita watu no ko awusa yata bhutam yana dasanam suvisudam ahosi. My dear friend, what is it that is required for a clear vision of Nibbana? The Arahant replied, Yato ko awuso janam ayatanam. My dear friend, in order to have a very clear vision of Nibbana, it is required to know and perceive the arising and perishing of the six sense bases as they really are. Ayatana, sense basis, or eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. Rupa, matter or corporeality. And nama, mind, must be comprehended as they really are, which nothing but the phenomenon of arising and perishing. Should one be able to comprehend and perceive these six sense bases as they really are, one will be able to see and realize Nibbana. The inquiring monk, being a Putujana, ordinary worldling, was not satisfied with the answer, because he thought the number of things which he has to comprehend was considerably too many. He was more concerned with the number than with the importance of the knowledge of arising and perishing. Thinking that the number was too many for him to work upon, he moved to another Arahant and asked the same question. The second Arahant answered in that order, that a monk might be able to see and realize Nibbana, he should try to perceive and comprehend the arising and perishing of Panchakanda, five aggregates or components, as they really are. With this answer he was not satisfied, yet because he thought that it was still too many for him. It is obvious that the Putujana monk laid so much stress upon the number and not the essential point, which is arising and perishing. Being unsatisfied with the second answer, he again approached the third Arahant and asked the usual question. The third Arahant answered that one would be able to see and realize Nibbana if he perceived and comprehended the arising and perishing nature of the Maha four elements, Patavi, Apo, Vayo and Tejo. Patavi, element of hardness and softness, Apo, element of cohesion, Vayo, element of motion, and Tejo, element of heat and cold. With this answer too, the Putujana monk was not able to satisfy himself, although he thought that the third answer was better than the first and second answers. He failed to see that the significance did not lie in numerical, but in the arising and perishing. Then he went to the fourth Arahant and put the same question. The fourth one answered, Yam kinchi samudaya dhammam sabbantan nirodadammanti. Whatever phenomenon that arises is bound to perish, and he who comprehends this Dhamma will be able to see and realize Nibbana. The monk was not at all satisfied with this last Arahant's answer, because he thought that he had to yet comprehend the two Dhammas. He never realized that what he had to comprehend was the arising and perishing, and not the 6 ayatanas, 5 khandhas, 4 Mahabhutas, and that it is the arising and perishing, or anicca, which is the essence and central core of the vipassana. So he went to the Buddha and explained what he had heard from the 4 Arahants and the dissatisfaction he had regarding the answers. Then the Buddha said, "Monk, there was a man who had never seen in his life a Buddha tree. He went out and asked the first man that the Buddha tree was black, and because he had seen it only after it had been burnt down. Being not satisfied with the answer, he went again and asked another man about it. The second man answered that the Buddha tree was like a chop of meat, because he had only seen it when the tree was in the bloom. Then again he went out and put the same question to the third, who told him that the tree was just like swords in the sheaths, because he only saw the tree when it was bearing fruits. Being not satisfied with it, he again asked the fourth one, who told him that the tree resembled the banyan tree with spreading foliage, because he had seen it in springtime, when it was luxuriant with green and shady leaves. The Buddha continued, "The descriptions of the Buddha tree by the fourth man were quite correct in their own way. Similarly, all the 4 Arahants who attained the highest stage of enlightenment and gained the true penetrative wisdom, purity of insight, are right in their own way, because all of them emphasized the importance of arising and perishing, samuddayancha and atanagammancha. It is to be noted that it is neither the 6 ayatanas, nor panchakhandhas, nor 4 Mahabhutas elements, nor any norm, but it is samuddayancha or atanagammancha, arising and perishing, which is the criterion, because in our being there is nothing but the arising and perishing. In vipassana, this is the only essential norm which will enable the yogi to get the insight of anicca. It is by perceiving anicca that the dukkha satcha can be perceived. It is said that without the comprehension of anicca, it is impossible to gain even the satchanulomika insight knowledge of satcha. What is important to the yogi is to steadfastly hold on to that norm of the arising and perishing, and at this stage the yogi would even come to the conclusion that any method without the contemplation on arising and perishing cannot be said to be complete and correct. It is an undeniable fact that the vipassana meditation must start from udaya and vaya, arising and perishing. Hence the so-called vipassana meditation without udaya and vaya cannot be said to be a pure and unadulterated vipassana. As such, it is not to be relied upon. The Buddha said, "Sabbe sankara aniccata yada panya pasati ata nibindati dukkhe esa mago visuddhiya." It means all conditioned and composite things are impermanent. As and when this fact is comprehended through vipassana jnana, there arises in the yogi's mind a complete disgust and abhorrence on khandha, because of its ceasingly and continuously arising and perishing nature, which is nothing but dukkha satcha. He no longer craves for khandha, and does not kindle the fire for lust of lust for the next existence. As such, it can be said that he stands at the entrance of Nibbana. The Buddha said again, Anicca vata sankara upadavaya damino upajitawa nirojanti tesam upasamosako. It means all conditioned and composite things are impermanent. This connotes arising and perishing. The next like also means that, according to the norm, it is also the arising and perishing. The third line connotes that, after arising, it perishes. Cessation or annihilation, or arising and perishing, i.e. suffering, is the bliss, Nibbana. Now it will be quite clear to the yogi that these two well-known Pali Gathas, stanzas, are after all not meant to be recited as we have done in the past in our devotion to the Buddha, but these are the norms to be meditated upon in our vipassana practice. Whereas in the Satipatthana Sutta it will be seen that in all four anupasanas there is the most norm, i.e. Samudaya Dhamma Nupasiva Vaya Dhamma Nupasiva Viharati Samudaya Vaya Dhamma Nupasiva Viharati. It means that the monk must dwell meditating on the arising and perishing only. Now it will be evident to the yogi how important, essential and indispensable is the norm of arising and perishing. He who has gained the insight knowledge of arising and perishing for a single day is more virtuous than one who is alive for 100 years without perceiving the arising and perishing Dhammapada in the Vipassana meditation. Catechism of the two great Savakas of the Buddha. During the time of the Buddha, one day Thera approached the Buddha's chief disciple, the Maha Sariputta, and asked, Brother Sariputta, how and what Putta Jana, an ordinary worldling, who has pure morals, sila, and right attitude, Yanosi Manasikara, should do for the attainment of Satipatthamaga? Maha Sariputta replied, Brother, a Puttu Jana who has pure morals and right attitude must contemplate on the nature of arising and perishing of the khandhas in order to attain Satipatthamaga. Again, Thera said, Well, brother, may I put it to you again how and what a Sotapanna must do in order to attain Sakadagami Maga, once returner? To this, Mahasariputta replied that a Sotapanna with the right attitude must contemplate on the nature of arising and perishing. In the same way, Thera again asked Mahasariputta as to how and what a Sakadagami and Anagami must do in order to attain the next higher stage. Mahasariputta answered in the same way that in order to attain the next higher stages, the nature of arising and perishing must be contemplated. He further added that even an arahant must continue to meditate on the natural phenomenon of arising and perishing in order that he might enjoy the bliss of Paticcasamuppada, the attainment of fruition. Here, yoniso manisakara, right attitude, means right attitude towards the right knowledge that rupa is rupa, corporeality, and not I or me. Vedana is Vedana, feeling, not I or me. Sanya Sankara, or Sanya and Sankara, and not I or me. In other words, yoniso manisakara means seeing things as they really are, by way of Paramatta Dhamma, ultimate reality. Arahant Koteka, although he himself was an Arahant, put these questions into Mahasariputta for the benefit of the younger monks. Without yoniso manasikara, it is impossible for the yogi to see things as they really are. Sila means morals, unblemished, 5 or 8 precepts which are pure and approved by the Arya and conducive to samadhi. Sila and yoniso manasikara are prerequisite which the intending yogi, before entering into meditation, requires. When only vipassana meditation, i.e. on udaya or vaya, the nature of arising and perishing, should be taken. Those who meditate on Vedana feeling will be called by Vedana to come and see that it is perishing. Similarly, Kuti is also calling the yogi to come and see that it is perishing. It is what is meant by Ehipassiko and Sanditiko, come and see. This call is important for the yogi and must be responded to the knowledge and awareness. It must not be with tanha or with dosa that the yogi may respond to that call. It means when the yogi responds to sukha vedana with tanha or dukkha vedana with dosa or domanasa to the process of Paticcasamuppada, will take its usual course ad infinitum. Some people say that they have been seeking the Dhamma truth for 3 or 4 years, but they could not have come across the right criterion. It may be because they do not know that the Dhamma is calling them to come and see. Ehipassiko. It is always calling to come and see. The whole of our being, Kanda, is the object to be meditated upon. It may be likened to the man who rows in a boat and fails to find water. Where there is Kanda, there is bound to be arising and perishing, and where there is arising and perishing, there is bound to be dukkha. When dukkha is cognized, anatta can be cognized. The insight wisdom of dukkha satcha will follow. Ignorance of khandas, with its inherent inability to cognize the arising and perishing, deluded the yogi into thinking impermanence as permanence, dukkha as sukha bliss, because he does not come across in a reliable teacher, or he does not care to take the trouble of seeking a reliable kamatana teacher, is predominantly Paticcasamuppada in conjunction with satcha. How it starts revolving, and how the spokes and wheel of this Paticcasamuppada can be broken asunder.